Hey everyone, and welcome back to Mystic's Mind. Today we're talking about the vital importance of closing and grounding after any spiritual ritual. You know that feeling, right? You've just finished a powerful meditation, a deep tarot reading, or a full moon ritual. You feel this incredible high, a profound connection to something larger than yourself. The air around you seems to hum with this new, vibrant energy. But then as the minutes turn into hours, you start to feel a little off. That brilliant, expansive feeling starts to curdle into something else. You're jumpy, maybe a little anxious, and you just can't seem to focus. It's as if you've opened a beautiful celestial door and forgotten to close it behind you. You might find yourself wandering through the day with a kind of spiritual hangover, feeling unmoored and disconnected from the solid ground of your own life. It's a deeply unsettling feeling, this inner disquiet that follows a period of profound spiritual work. Before we dive into the stars, if you're finding these insights helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps this energy reach more people who need it. Drop a comment below and tell me a question you're asking the universe right now. All right, find a comfortable spot and let's align our energy with the cosmos. You see, this is a universal experience for anyone who steps onto a spiritual path. It's the result of what I call the cosmic call and inner disquiet. You're drawn to these practices, the rituals, the ceremonies, the deep inner work because you sense a deeper truth, a connection that the everyday world often denies. You feel that pull to transcend the mundane, to touch the divine. And in those moments of connection, your energetic system opens up. You become a conduit. You're inviting in energies, messages, and insights that exist on a different plane. This is a beautiful and necessary part of the journey. But what many people do and realize is that this act of opening requires a corresponding act of closing. Without it, you're left in a state of energetic flux. Your mind might be racing, filled with a torrent of ideas and visions you can't quite grasp. Your emotions can be all over the place, swinging from blissful calm to unexplained irritability. Physically, you might feel a strange kind of fatigue, a bone-deep weariness that isn't from physical exertion. Think of it like this. You've been invited to a magnificent celestial party. You've had a wonderful time dancing and celebrating with cosmic friends, and you've exchanged incredible stories. But then the party is over and you've just walked out the door and started walking home. You didn't take a moment to change out of your party clothes or even take a deep breath of the night air. You just left, and now you're trying to go back to your normal life, still covered in cosmic glitter, with the echoes of celestial music still ringing in your ears. You're not fully present in your own reality. You're still half in that other space. This is the essence of being ungrounded. You haven't fully returned your consciousness and your energy to your physical body and your immediate surroundings. You're still broadcasting on a spiritual frequency, but trying to operate on an earthly one. And that disconnect is where the disquiet comes from. So, the key here? The first major insight you need to grasp is that the act of opening yourself up to spiritual energy must always be followed by the intentional act of bringing yourself back down. It's not a luxury, it's a fundamental part of the process. It's about respecting the power of the work you've done and honoring your physical vessel, your body, as the sacred container for all that energy. Without this, the insights you receive can be fleeting, the healing you experience can be temporary, and the connection you feel can become a source of anxiety rather than peace. It's a lesson I've seen countless people learn the hard way, including myself. That feeling of being a bit spacey after a powerful ritual is a sign of spiritual enlightenment. It's a sign that you have work to do. So, what doors have you opened recently that you haven't fully closed? And how is that feeling of being unmoored showing up in your daily life? That feeling of being spiritually unmoored, which we talked about in the last section, isn't just a vague emotional state. It has a real and tangible effect on your energetic body. Imagine your aura and your chakras not just as pretty colors or abstract concepts, but as a series of incredibly sensitive energetic portals. Think of them like the doors and windows of your spiritual home. When you engage in a powerful ritual or deep meditation, you are intentionally flinging open these doors, inviting in a flow of energy, information, and consciousness from other realms. This is a beautiful and necessary part of the process. It's how we connect, how we receive guidance, and how we expand. But here's the crucial part. If you don't deliberately close those doors afterward, you're leaving your home vulnerable. This is the heart of the energetic body's open doors. You'll find yourself feeling overly sensitive, picking up on the moods of those around you as if they were your own. A trip to the grocery store can feel like a psychic assault, and a simple conversation can leave you feeling drained. This isn't because the world is a bad place, it's because your energetic boundaries are down. Your auric field, which normally acts as a protective layer, is wide open. Think of it like a beautiful antique house. You can open all the windows on a lovely day to let in the fresh air, but you wouldn't leave them open during a storm or when you leave the house unattended, right? That's what happens when you don't ground. You're still in that open, receptive state, and you're absorbing everything good and bad from your environment. This is why a simple act, like walking barefoot on the grass, can feel so powerful. It has a way of physically signaling to your system that it's time to close the doors and come back home. A great example of this is a friend of mine who we'll call Sarah. Sarah is a wonderful spiritual seeker, and she loves working with crystals and doing powerful full moon rituals. After one particularly intense ritual, she felt amazing for a few hours, but by the next morning, she was a wreck. She couldn't focus at work, felt waves of anxiety for no reason, and was incredibly irritable. She came to me and said she felt like she was vibrating out of her skin. What she was experiencing was a classic case of ungrounded energy. Her root chakra, the very foundation of her energetic system, was completely unanchored. The beautiful, high vibrational energy from the ritual hadn't been integrated. It was just floating around her system, making her feel chaotic and unsettled. I suggested she go for a walk, touch a tree, and eat a substantial meal. Within an hour, she started to feel more like herself. Her system had received the message that the spiritual work was complete, and it was time to re-engage with the physical world. This isn't about fear, it's about wisdom. It's about understanding that your spiritual work is a sacred dance between opening up and pulling back, between expansion and contraction. Leaving yourself in a perpetual state of openness is not a sign of spiritual advancement. It's a sign of a lack of energetic discipline. The goal is not to be constantly plugged into the cosmic grid, but to be able to access that connection at will and then return to a state of balance. Your energetic body is a dynamic system, and it requires this kind of conscious management. So, I want you to consider this. When was the last time you felt that profound energetic openness? And what did you do to honor and protect that state afterward? Once you understand that your energetic body is left with open doors, the next logical question is, what exactly flows in, or more accurately, what lingers when those doors are left ajar? The answer is a kind of spiritual residue, what I call the echoes of unbound energy. Think of it this way. A spiritual ritual is a concentrated act of intent and energy. You've created a powerful container, stirred the pot of your consciousness, and invited in some very potent forces. When the ritual is over, if you don't consciously close that container and settle the energy, it doesn't just vanish, it echoes. It lingers. It becomes a kind of background noise in your energetic field, leading to a state of emotional and mental clutter that leaves you feeling scattered and unfocused. This isn't necessarily a sinister thing, like a negative entity attaching itself to you, though that's a possibility. More often, it's just the residual energy of the ritual itself. Imagine you've been doing some intense healing work to release old resentments. You've cried, you've felt the anger, and you've spoken your truth. This is all powerful and necessary. But if you don't complete the cycle by grounding and releasing that energy, the echoes of that anger and resentment can hang around. You might find yourself snapping at a loved one for no reason, or feeling a general sense of frustration and unease. The energy from the ritual is still present, still active, but it's no longer contained and directed. It's just buzzing around, creating noise. This is the scatterbrained feeling, the inability to focus, and the sudden mood swings that many of you report after deep spiritual work. You're literally feeling the unintegrated energy of your own process. I remember a client, let's call her Lena, who was doing a lot of deep shadow work on her own. She was brave and committed, diving into past traumas with incredible resolve. But after each session, she'd feel a kind of psychic fog settle in. She'd forget appointments, lose her keys, and couldn't hold a conversation without her mind wandering. It was as if her consciousness was still stuck in the stormy emotional landscape of her past. Even though she was trying to be present in her daily life, the healing work itself was successful, but the lack of closure was causing a secondary problem. Her emotional body was still vibrating with the intensity of her discoveries, but her physical body and mind were trying to go back to normal. The two weren't in sync. When we worked together, I explained this concept to her. We developed a simple post-ritual routine. She would physically shake her body to release the tension, splash cold water on her face, and then sit down to write for a few minutes about what she had experienced. The writing was key because it externalized the chaotic energy, moving it from her mind to the page. It gave the echoes a place to land, a way to be heard and then be put away. It's like cleaning a room after a big party. You don't just leave the dishes and empty cups lying around. You clean up so the room can be a peaceful and functional space again. Your energetic field is no different. The question to ask yourself is, are you giving the energy you stir up a place to go? Or are you letting it hang around and create spiritual clutter? In the last section, we talked about the lingering echoes of unintegrated energy, that mental and emotional clutter that leaves you feeling scattered. So what's the antidote to this state of being unmoored? It's a return to the simplest, most fundamental part of the spiritual journey, the simple art of grounding. While spiritual work often feels like a journey upward and outward, grounding is a journey downward and inward. It's the intentional act of bringing your consciousness and your energy back into your physical body and your immediate physical environment. It's about reconnecting with the here and now. And the beautiful thing about grounding is that it's not some complex, esoteric practice. You don't need a special crystal or an intricate ritual. The most powerful grounding techniques are often the simplest and most accessible. They leverage your connection to the earth itself. One of the most effective and ancient methods is simply to go outside and make direct contact with the ground. Kick off your shoes and feel the grass between your toes. Stand on the soil, sit on a rock, or lean against a sturdy tree. This isn't just a hippie, it's a powerful, energetic act. The earth has its own electromagnetic field, and by connecting with it, you are quite literally discharging any excess chaotic energy and recalibrating your own system. It's like plugging yourself back into the main power source. Consider this relatable scenario. A friend of mine, an energy worker, had just finished a series of intense healing sessions with a client. She was feeling drained and a little disoriented, which is a common experience when you're working with other people's energy. Instead of just sitting down and trying to push through the fatigue, she told me she immediately went out to her garden. She didn't do a full ritual or anything formal. She just knelt down and began to weed a flower bed. She got her hands dirty, felt the cool soil, and focused on the simple physical task of pulling out the weeds. Within minutes, she felt a profound shift. The scattered, fuzzy feeling was replaced with a sense of calm and clarity. The act of touching the earth and engaging in a mundane physical task brought her consciousness out of the ether and back into her body. Grounding is a form of self-care. It's a way of saying to your system, okay, the work is done. It's time to come back home. So, besides touching the earth, what are some other simple actions you can take? Simple physical exercises like gentle stretching, a short walk, or even just jumping up and down can help. The key is to engage your body. You might also try some conscious breathing, focusing on long, slow exhales to release tension and energy. The more you bring your awareness to your physical sensations, the feeling of the air on your skin, the contact of your feet with the floor, the more you ground yourself. It's not about ignoring the spiritual world. It's about honoring the connection between the spiritual and the physical. So, what simple physical act can you commit to doing immediately after your next ritual or deep meditation to bring yourself back to the present moment? In our last section, we explored the simple physical act of grounding as the first step to coming back down to earth. Now, let's talk about the intentional act of letting go. Once you've anchored yourself physically, you need to engage in what I call rituals of release and return. This is a crucial step for intentionally shedding the excess spiritual energy that you no longer need to carry. It's about signaling to your mind, your body, and the universe that the ritual is complete, and you are returning to a state of balance. Think about it like this. When you finish a phone call, you say goodbye and hang up. You don't just leave the line open. A spiritual ritual is a similar kind of energetic conversation. If you don't offer a clear goodbye, the channel remains active, and you'll find yourself trying to process new information and insights long after the work is done. This can lead to that feeling of being overwhelmed and scattered that we've been discussing. The key here is to create a specific conscious act that symbolizes the end of the ritual. This can be as simple or as complex as you like, but the most powerful ones often involve a physical action. A powerful example of this is a practice I often recommend, journaling. But not just any journaling. This is a very specific type of writing that serves as a release valve. After your ritual, sit down with a notebook and a pen and write down everything that came up for you. Write about the insights you received, the emotions you felt, and the messages you were given. Don't worry about grammar or structure. Just let the words flow. As you write, you're not only giving a physical form to your experience, you're also intentionally moving that energy out of your mind and onto the page. You're creating a permanent record of the experience, which allows your subconscious to let go of the need to keep replaying it. Once you're done, you can symbolically close the book, signaling that the work is contained and complete. Another beautiful symbolic act is to use the element of water. After a powerful meditation or ritual, you can take a ritual bath or a shower with the intention of washing away any excess or unwanted energy. As the water runs over your body, you can visualize it cleansing your aura and carrying away anything that no longer serves you. You might even say a simple spoken affirmation like, "I release all energy that is not my own," and return to a state of peace and clarity. This simple act is incredibly powerful because it engages all of your senses and gives your intent a tangible form. It's a way of ritually cleansing yourself before you re-enter your everyday life. So, the key takeaway here is that releasing energy is as important as invoking it. You're not just letting go, you're also returning to a state of equilibrium. What simple symbolic act can you create for yourself to serve as a clear signal that your spiritual work is complete? Now that we've talked about the importance of releasing energy, let's expand on that concept with a new idea: the importance of energetic housekeeping. This is a powerful metaphor that will change how you view your spiritual practices. Think of your energetic field not just as your personal aura, but as your spiritual home. You would unthrow a big party in your physical house and then just leave the mess for days, right? You clean up, you put things back where they belong, and you restore order. Your spiritual space requires the exact same level of care. When you engage in a ritual, whether it's a big moon ceremony, a deep meditation, or even a simple card pull, you're essentially creating an intentional space. You're inviting in energies, ideas, and insights. This process can stir things up, and sometimes it can even feel chaotic. While the initial experience might feel expansive and exhilarating, leaving that energy untended can lead to a kind of spiritual dust. This dust can cling to you, leaving you feeling foggy and disorganized. It's the difference between a high vibrational, clear space and one that feels heavy or cluttered. Proper energetic housekeeping is the deliberate act of clearing out that dust. A great example of this is a common experience with dream work. Many of you feel drawn to lucid dreaming or keeping dream journals to receive spiritual messages. This is a beautiful practice, but it's also a form of spiritual work. You are consciously entering an altered state of consciousness and interacting with powerful archetypal energies. If you wake up and immediately rush into your day without acknowledging or closing that experience, you might find yourself feeling emotionally hungover. You're still half in the dream world with its powerful symbolism and unresolved emotional landscapes. This can make you feel disconnected and moody throughout the day. So, how do you perform this housekeeping? It can be as simple as lighting a stick of Palo Santo or a bundle of sage and smudging your space and your aura with the intention of clearing away any residual or unwanted energy. As you do it, you can say, "I release all energy that is not my own and return my space to a state of peace." Another simple tool is sound. A single ring of a bell or a chime can act as an energetic cleanser, breaking up lingering energy and sealing the space. You're literally using a physical action to create an energetic boundary. This isn't about being paranoid about bad energy. It's about being responsible for the energy you create and interact with. It's about creating an energetic hygiene habit, just like you would a physical one. So, I want you to consider this. What does your spiritual home feel like after a ritual? Is it tidy and peaceful, or is it cluttered and chaotic? And what simple tool can you use to clean up that space and bring it back into balance? In the last section, we talked about the importance of energetic housekeeping, treating your spiritual space like your physical home. Now, let's get a little more specific and talk about what this means for your own person. When you engage in a powerful ritual, you are not just stirring up energy in the room, you are directly affecting your own energetic field. This leaves you in a state of post-ritual vulnerability and psychic hygiene. It's a state of heightened sensitivity where your energetic boundaries are much more porous than usual. Think of it like this. Your aura is your first line of defense, a protective spiritual shield. After a powerful ritual, that shield is thinned out. You are more open to the subtle energies around you, which can be a wonderful thing if you're in a sacred, protected space with people you trust. But if you walk out of that space and immediately into a crowded store or a chaotic environment, you become a sponge. You'll find yourself picking up on the moods, anxieties, and even physical discomforts of others. This isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're a sensitive spiritual being who has just completed a deep process and needs to protect your energetic field. For example, I once worked with a student who was a very gifted empath. She loved doing deep, intense breathwork to clear emotional blocks. The sessions were incredibly powerful, but she noticed that for the rest of the day, she would feel exhausted and anxious. She couldn't figure out why. We discovered that immediately after her sessions, she would often go to her job as a waitress at a very busy, high-stress restaurant. She was walking directly into a storm of uncontained energy from her coworkers and customers. She was so raw and open from her breathwork that she was absorbing all of their stress and frustration. The solution wasn't to stop the breathwork, it was to create a buffer zone. We set up a simple routine for her to follow immediately after her sessions. She would take a salt bath and spend 15 minutes in silent meditation, visualizing her aura reforming as a strong, protective bubble around her. This simple act of psychic hygiene made all the difference. So, this is a call to a more conscious way of living. It's about being mindful of your state of being after a ritual and taking simple, preventative measures. Just like you wash your hands to prevent the spread of germs, you need to cleanse your energetic field to prevent spiritual contamination. This isn't about being fearful of the world, but about being discerning and wise. You have a choice to protect your energy and your peace. So, what kind of chaotic environments are you stepping into after your spiritual work? And what simple, intentional acts can you perform to protect yourself? We've been talking about post-ritual vulnerability and the importance of psychic hygiene. A fantastic way to practice this hygiene is by intentionally working with the role of earth elements in grounding. The natural world is not just a beautiful backdrop for our lives, it's a powerful and accessible tool for energetic work. When you're feeling ungrounded, it's because you've become disconnected from your physical reality. And what better way to reconnect than by engaging with the very foundation of that reality? The earth elements, specifically stone, soil, and water, potent anchors for spiritual energy. Each one offers a different way to transmute the excess energy you've taken on during a ritual. Take a stone, for example. Stones and crystals, especially those known for their grounding properties, like hematite, black tourmaline, or obsidian, have a dense, stable energy. After a ritual, you can hold one of these stones in your hand, close your eyes, and visualize the excess, chaotic energy from your ritual flowing down your arm, through your hand, and into the stone. Imagine the stone absorbing that energy and transmuting it back into a calm, stable vibration. This simple act of visualization, combined with the physical anchor of the stone, can make a huge difference in how quickly you come back to center. Soil is another incredible tool. We touched on this in an earlier section, but it's worth revisiting. There's a reason so many spiritual traditions incorporate walking barefoot on the ground or working in a garden. The soil is the ultimate grounding force. When you place your bare feet on the earth, you are literally creating a circuit. Your body, which is vibrating at a high frequency from your spiritual work, can release that excess charge into the vast, stable energy field of the planet. It's like a spiritual lightning rod. You can even take a handful of dirt or sand and hold it in your hand, feeling its texture and temperature as a way to bring your awareness back to the physical world. And then there's water. Water is the great purifier. You can use it to ground and cleanse by taking a ritual shower or bath. As you stand under the flowing water, you can consciously intend for it to wash away any lingering, unintegrated energy. You're using the physical act of cleansing to create a powerful energetic release. This is why a simple splash of cold water on the face after an intense meditation can feel so refreshing. It's a shock to the system that brings you instantly back into your body. A good example is an artist I know who does a lot of creative visualization as part of his process. He found that after a few hours of intense visualization, he would feel incredibly restless and unable to sit still. He started keeping a bowl of water on his desk. When he felt that restless energy, he would simply dip his hands into the water, and then he would hold a polished stone in his palm until he felt grounded again. He discovered that the combination of the two elements was an immediate reset button for his nervous system. So, the next time you finish a ritual, consider which element you feel most called to work with. How can you use a stone, soil, or water to bring yourself back into a state of balance? We've been talking about bringing yourself back to your physical body and environment, but there's another layer to conscious closure that's just as important: conscious disengagement from the divine. During a spiritual ritual, you aren't just working with your own energy. You're often inviting in and interacting with higher vibrational energies, guides, or deities. This is a profound and sacred act of communication. But just as you wouldn't keep a door to your house open to everyone at all times, you must also respectfully close the channel to these energies once the work is done. This isn't about being rude or ungrateful. It's a sign of maturity and respect. By formally closing the ritual, you are acknowledging the help you received and also releasing the divine energies to return to their own state of being. You are, in a sense, saying thank you and goodbye. If you fail to do this, you might find that the energy of the ritual lingers, creating a feeling of being overstimulated or high. You might find yourself feeling like you're still in that heightened state of consciousness, which can be exhausting and make it difficult to engage in mundane tasks. A beautiful and powerful way to do this is with a simple verbal statement. After you've completed your work, you can simply say something like, "Thank you to all the guides, ancestors, and energies that have assisted me in this ritual. I now release you with love and gratitude. The work is complete and I am sealed in peace and light." This isn't just a set of words. It's a statement of intent. It signals to your subconscious and to the universe that the sacred space you opened has now been formally closed. This allows you to integrate the insights you received without feeling energetically tethered to the ritual itself. Think of it like this. You've just had a wonderful in-depth conversation with a wise elder. When the conversation is over, you say, "Thank you for your time and wisdom," and you go your separate ways. You don't just walk away without a word, leaving them in a state of suspended conversation. That would be disrespectful. Your relationship with divine energies is no different. It's a reciprocal relationship built on respect and clear boundaries. By disengaging, you are honoring the sacred nature of the encounter and also creating a sense of completion for yourself. A common example I see is with people who use tarot or oracle cards. They will do a reading, get some profound insight, and then just leave the cards sitting out on the table for days. The energy of the reading is still active and can feel overwhelming. A simple act of returning the cards to their box and saying a quiet thank you to the deck can make a world of difference. It's a way of saying, thank you for the message. I have received it, and now I'm ready to move forward. So, I want you to consider this. What is your own personal way of respectfully saying thank you and goodbye to the divine energies you work with? In the last section, we discussed the importance of consciously disengaging from the divine energies you work with. Now, let's talk about a very real, often overlooked symptom of ungrounded energy, the disruption of your rest. This is what I call the sleep ritual connection. Many of you have noticed that after a particularly powerful meditation or ritual, you'll find it difficult to fall asleep. Or, if you do fall asleep, your dreams are incredibly vivid, chaotic, and sometimes unsettling. It's as if your brain can't shut off, and it's still processing all the information and energy you've been working with. This isn't a coincidence. It's a direct result of unintegrated energy. When you do deep spiritual work, you are literally changing the frequency of your brainwaves. You're moving into states of consciousness that are more receptive and expansive. But if you don't consciously bring yourself back to a grounded physical state, your brain can stay in that heightened alpha or theta state. You'll find yourself trying to sleep, but your mind is still racing, filled with visions, ideas, and a general sense of being on. This is why you'll often feel exhausted the next day, even if you spent 8 hours in bed. Your body was resting, but your energetic system and your mind were still working overtime. A perfect example of this is a friend who loves to do sound baths. She would come home from these events feeling incredible, but then she'd spend the entire night tossing and turning. The beautiful high vibrational sounds had opened up her system, but she hadn't given it a way to come back down. Her energetic system was still buzzing with the frequencies of the sound bath, and it was preventing her nervous system from fully calming down. Once she started implementing a simple grounding ritual like a salt bath before bed, and a few minutes of conscious breathing, focusing on the feeling of her feet on the floor, the sleep disturbances stopped almost immediately. The same goes for vivid or chaotic dreams. When you are ungrounded, your dream state can become a dumping ground for all the unintegrated energy from your ritual. Instead of having peaceful, restorative sleep, you're having an emotional or psychic experience. The dreams might be symbolic and interesting, but they're not restful. They reassign that your subconscious is trying to process and organize energy that you have given it a place to land in your waking life. So, the key here is to realize that your sleep is a barometer for your spiritual hygiene. Restorative sleep is not just a physical need, it's a spiritual one. It's when your body and your subconscious integrate the work you've done. So, what's your pre-bedtime ritual? Are you giving your energetic system a chance to truly power down before you go to sleep? We've been talking about the sleep ritual connection and how ungrounded energy can disrupt your rest. So, how do you combat that? You re-engage with your physical self. This brings us to a crucial, yet often overlooked part of grounding: physical anchors for spiritual experiences. While the spiritual journey is about expanding beyond the physical, the key to a healthy practice is always returning to it. Your body is your vessel for this life, and it's the most powerful tool you have for grounding. Think of it like this. Your spiritual work takes you to the stars, but your physical body is the spacecraft that gets you there. If you don't land the spacecraft, you're just floating in orbit, disconnected and directionless. The most effective grounding techniques are often the most mundane, because they force your awareness back into the present moment and into your physical form. After a ritual, your nervous system is often in a state of heightened arousal. It's buzzing with a higher frequency. The simple act of engaging your senses is a powerful way to calm that system and signal that the ritual is complete. A perfect example is the act of eating a nourishing meal. I know it sounds simple, but it's a profound act of grounding. When you sit down and consciously eat something, substantial something with a bit of weight to it, like a root vegetable, a piece of whole grain bread, or a hearty soup, are quite literally bringing in earthly energy and matter. You're engaging your senses of taste and smell. You're engaging your digestive system. It's a very tangible way of saying, I am here, in this body, on this planet, and I am being nourished by its bounty. It's an act of deep reverence for your physical self. A client of mine, who we'll call David, would do intense energy work and then feel so full of spiritual energy that he couldn't bring himself to eat. He thought he was being spiritual, but in reality, he was just ungrounded. Once he began making a point of having a piece of fruit or a handful of nuts after a session, he found that the scattered feeling vanished, and the insights from his work became clearer. Another simple but powerful physical anchor is taking a warm bath or a shower. The feeling of the water on your skin and the sensation of the warmth allows you to reconnect with your physical body. You can use this as a ritual in itself, visualizing any excess energy going down the drain. You might also try a simple self-massage, using your hands to gently knead your shoulders, arms, and legs. As you do this, you're consciously bringing your awareness to each part of your body. This is a form of embodied mindfulness. So, The lesson here is that you must tend to your physical self. Your body is not a hindrance to your spiritual growth. It's a sacred partner. What simple physical act can you perform after your next spiritual practice to bring your awareness back into your body? In the last section, we discussed the importance of physical anchors, like eating and bathing, to bring your awareness back into your body. Now, let's add another powerful tool to your grounding toolkit: the power of intentional closing statements. Your words are more than just sounds. They are vibrations and carriers of intent. Just as you use invocations or mantras to open a sacred space, you must use a formal verbal statement to close it. This act is not for the benefit of the universe, it's for you. It signals to your own subconscious that the work is complete, and the energetic container is now sealed. Think of it like this. A ritual is a temporary container for a specific kind of work. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. When you create this container, you are defining its purpose and its boundaries. But without a conscious act of closure, the boundaries can become blurry, the energy can bleed out, and the focus of the ritual can become dissipated. By using a closing statement, you are taking an active role in sealing the work and containing its power within you. You are saying, "This insight is now a part of me, and I no longer need to keep the channel open to receive it." This is a deeply empowering act. A simple and effective closing statement can be as easy as, "I now close this sacred space. The work is done and the energy is contained. I am grounded, centered, and whole." You can say this aloud, or you can say it quietly to yourself. The important part is the intention behind the words. You are literally commanding your energetic system to return to a state of balance. You might also want to add a phrase of gratitude, like, "Thank you to all who have assisted in this work. You are now free to go." This is a respectful way of releasing the divine energies or guides you may have been working with. A beautiful example of this is a friend of mine who does a daily meditation practice. She used to just finish and then get up and go about her day. But she noticed that she would often feel scattered and a little anxious for the first hour of her morning. I suggested she end her meditation by taking a deep breath and then saying, "My meditation is complete. I am returning to the present moment, grounded and ready for my day." She was surprised at how much of a difference this simple act made. The mental fogginess disappeared and she felt more integrated and present. The closing statement was her bridge from the spiritual space back to the physical world. This isn't about being rigid, it's about being intentional. You can create your own closing statement, one that resonates with your own personal spiritual language. The key is to find a set of words that gives you a sense of completion. So, what phrase or mantra can you use to formally and intentionally close your spiritual practices? We've explored several techniques for grounding and closing, from physical actions to intentional statements. But how do you know if you've missed a step? The key is to learn how to recognize the symptoms of ungrounded energy. This is a crucial skill for any spiritual practitioner. Your body and mind will send you clear signals that you need to ground yourself. This is what I call recognizing the signs of ungrounded energy. These signs aren't punishments. They are your inner compass telling you that you've wandered too far from your center and need to come back home. One of the most common signs is a feeling of being spacey or disoriented. You might find yourself forgetting simple things, feeling clumsy, or just not being fully present in a conversation. It's as if you're floating a few feet above your own body. This feeling of disconnect is a direct result of your consciousness being partially stuck in the etheric plane. Another sign is an inability to focus. You might sit down to do a simple task, like paying bills or sending an email, but your mind is all over the place. It's still buzzing with the insights or energy from your ritual, and it can't settle on the mundane. This is that mental clutter we talked about earlier. Another very common symptom is anxiety. You might feel a low-grade, free-floating anxiety for no discernible reason. Your nervous system is overstimulated, and it's reacting with a fight-or-flight response. This can also manifest as irritability or sudden mood swings. Remember our example of the person who felt frustrated for no reason after her healing work? That was the unintegrated energy of the ritual creating chaos in her system. Physically, you might notice restlessness, a kind of nervous energy that makes it difficult to sit still. You might also feel a strange kind of fatigue that isn't physical. It's an energetic exhaustion from your system trying to process and contain all the unbound energy. A great example of this is a listener who wrote in and told me about her experience. She had just started a deep dream journaling practice. She was so excited about the insights she was receiving that she would wake up right for an hour and then rush off to work. But by lunchtime, she would feel completely depleted and anxious. Her physical body was at work, but her energetic body was still in the dream world, and the disconnect was causing a kind of internal alarm. Once she started taking 10 minutes to do a quick grounding meditation after her writing Zimbly, focusing on the feeling of her feet on the floor and taking a few deep, intentional breaths, the anxiety vanished. She learned to recognize the feeling of being off as a signal that she needed to ground. So, the key here is to learn your own unique signals. How does ungrounded energy manifest in your life? Do you get clumsy, anxious, scattered? Start paying attention to these signs. They are not a failure. They are a sign from your inner wisdom telling you to take care of yourself. In the last section, we discussed the importance of recognizing the signs of ungrounded energy. Now, let's talk about the solution to that disconnect. It's not about abandoning your spiritual insights, it's about making them a part of your daily life. This is what I call the integration of spiritual and mundane worlds. True spiritual mastery isn't about escaping reality. It's about bringing the wisdom you gain from your rituals and meditations back into your ordinary, everyday existence. Think about it this way. Your spiritual work is like a research trip to a distant land. You go, you learn new things, you have profound experiences, and you meet amazing people. But when you come back, the point isn't to just keep the memories in your head. The point is to use what you learned. Maybe you learned a new recipe and now you cook it for your family. Or maybe you learned a new way of communicating and now you apply it to your relationships. If you don't integrate your insights, they just become fleeting memories. They're beautiful, but they don't serve a practical purpose. A perfect example of this is a man I know who does a lot of work with ancestral healing. He would spend hours in deep meditation, visualizing his lineage and releasing old family wounds. He was doing incredible work on a spiritual level, but he would come out of those meditations and immediately get into arguments with his siblings. The profound insights he was having weren't making a difference in his real-world relationships. The solution wasn't to stop the meditations. The solution was to create a bridge between the two worlds. We talked about how he could take the feeling of compassion he cultivated for his ancestors and intentionally apply it to his living family. He started by simply taking a moment before speaking to his sister to remember his ritual and the feeling of healing. That small act of integration changed everything. He was no longer just a spiritual seeker. He was a spiritual practitioner living a more conscious life. So, how do you integrate your spiritual insights? The key is to find tangible ways to apply them. If your meditation revealed the need for more patience, you can carry a small stone in your pocket to remind you to be patient when you get stuck in traffic. If you received an insight about self-love during a ritual, you can make a point to say one kind thing to yourself in the mirror every morning. You're taking the ephemeral and making it tangible. You're making the unseen seen. The goal is to live your life as a walking, breathing, spiritual practice. Your insights aren't meant to stay on the meditation cushion. They're meant to be lived. They're meant to inform how you show up for your relationships, your work, and your own well-being. So, what insight have you received recently that you have yet to integrate into your daily life? And what is one small, simple step you can take today to make it a reality? We've been talking about the importance of integrating spiritual insights and making them tangible. Now, let us explore a very powerful and often overlooked tool for that process: the role of sound in energetic closure. Sound is not just something you hear, it's a vibration that can directly affect your energetic field. During a ritual, you might use sound to raise the vibration or create a specific mood. But after a ritual, sound can be used to do the opposite, to break up lingering energy and signal the end of the session. Think of it this way: a powerful ritual creates a kind of energetic field, a beautiful bubble of concentrated energy. When the work is done, you need a way to gently pop that bubble so that the energy can disperse and be integrated. A sudden sharp sound can act as an energetic punctuation mark. It's a clear signal to your system that the conversation is over. This is a very ancient practice. Many spiritual traditions use bells, chimes, or gongs to mark the beginning and the end of a ceremony. The sound of a chime doesn't just ring in the air. It sends a wave of vibration through your energetic field, shaking up any stagnant or unintegrated energy and helping it to dissipate. A simple and beautiful tool for this is a small bell or a set of chimes. After you've finished your meditation or ritual, you can simply ring the bell once, with the intention of closing the space. As the sound fades, you can visualize the energy of the ritual, gently settling back into a state of calm. This is a very gentle and effective way to transition from a heightened state of consciousness back to a more grounded one. You're using a tangible physical action to create a profound energetic shift. A beautiful example of this is a spiritual mentor of mine. She would lead group meditations that were incredibly deep and powerful, but instead of just ending the session and letting people drift back into the room, she would always end with the sound of a small handheld singing bowl. She would strike it once, and as the sound slowly faded away, you could literally feel the entire room shift. The high vibrational energy from the meditation wasn't just left hanging in the air. It was beautifully and intentionally brought to a close. Everyone in the room felt a profound sense of peace and completion. The sound was the final act, the final blessing that allowed everyone to go back to their day feeling whole and centered. So, the key here is to see sound not just as noise, but as a tool for energetic management. What simple sound a bell, a chime, even a snap of your fingers can you use to signal the end of your next spiritual practice and help you return to a state of balance. In the last section, we discussed the power of sound in creating energetic closure. Now, let's talk about creating a safe landing spot for yourself. This is what I call creating a personal post-ritual sanctuary. Just as you wouldn't step out of a sauna and immediately into a freezer, you shouldn't leave a sacred space and immediately jump into the chaos of your everyday life. You need a buffer zone, a place that is designated as your safe landing zone. This doesn't have to be a whole room. It can be a comfortable chair in a quiet corner, a small altar, or even just a specific place on the floor where you sit to transition. The key is that this space is intentionally set apart. It's a place where you can be present with yourself without the demands and distractions of the outside world. When you're in this space, you can take a few moments to simply be, to let your energetic system settle, and to fully re-inhabit your body. This is a crucial step in the integration process. A wonderful example of this is a yoga teacher I know. She would lead very deep, meditative classes, and as soon as the class ended, people would rush to pack up their mats and leave. She noticed that many of them would feel disoriented and scattered afterward. So, she began to dedicate the last 5 minutes of every class to a period of stillness. She called the landing. She would tell her students to simply lie on their mats, close their eyes, and focus on the feeling of their body against the floor. She would encourage them to notice the rhythm of their breath and the feeling of their heart beating. This simple act of intentional rest created a profound shift. Her students began to report feeling more peaceful and centered for the rest of their day. They had a physical and energetic place to land before they re-engaged with the world. So, how do you create your own post-ritual sanctuary? You can start with a single item. It might be a blanket that you only use for your spiritual work, a specific candle that you light only for your rituals, or a special cup of tea you prepare for yourself afterward. These items act as physical anchors, signaling to your subconscious that you are in a transitional space. They become part of your personal ritual of return. This is an act of deep self-care. It's about honoring your journey and giving yourself the time and space you need to fully re-enter your life with grace and ease. So, I want you to consider this. What space can you designate as your own personal sanctuary? And what simple actions or items can you use to signal to yourself that you are in a transitional space, a safe place to land? We've explored the idea of creating a personal sanctuary for grounding. Now, let's talk about the deeper, more profound reason why this is so important. This is a conversation about the responsibility of the practitioner. When you engage in spiritual work, you are not just a passive observer. You are an active participant. You are the one who is opening the channels, inviting in the energy, and engaging in the sacred. With that power comes a profound responsibility, not just to your own well-being, but to the greater energetic ecosystem. Think of it this way. Your energetic body is like a satellite dish. You can tune it to receive different frequencies. When you're in a spiritual ritual, you're tuning into a very high, powerful frequency. The insights and energy that come through can be incredibly transformative. But if you don't ground and close properly, you're not just leaving your own doors open, you're also leaving the channels open. The unintegrated energy can create a kind of energetic static that can affect not only you, but also the people and places you interact with. A beautiful and powerful example of this is a concept from a shamanic tradition I learned about. They believe that when a practitioner fails to close a ritual, they leave a hole in the energetic fabric of the world. This isn't a judgment, it's just a statement of fact. They believe that it is the practitioner's responsibility to mend that hole by formally closing the ritual and grounding the energy back into the earth. It's an act of service, not just for oneself, but for the collective. This kind of thinking shifts the focus from a purely personal practice to a communal one. You are not just doing this for you, you are doing it for the greater good. By properly grounding, you are ensuring that the energy you worked with is integrated in a healthy way, that it doesn't linger and cause energetic disturbances. This is a beautiful and empowering way to view your spiritual practice. It's no longer just a hobby. It's a form of sacred stewardship. You are a gatekeeper, a bridge between the spiritual and the physical world. Your job is to facilitate the flow of energy, not to just leave a mess in its wake. This mindset helps you move past the idea of grounding as just a chore and into the mindset of it as a sacred duty. It brings an incredible sense of purpose to even the simplest act, like putting your feet on the grass or taking a moment to breathe. So, I want you to consider this. What is your personal responsibility as a spiritual practitioner? And how does the act of grounding and conscious closure not only serve you, but also serve the world around you? In our last section, we talked about the profound responsibility of the practitioner to manage the energy they invoke. Now, let us talk about a specific and powerful technique that embodies this responsibility: the energetic cord cutting as a final step. While grounding brings you back to your own center, Cord cutting is a specific way to release any lingering attachments or energetic ties that may have been formed during a ritual. Think of it like this. When you engage in a powerful ritual, you are often working with a specific energy, a guide, or even a past life memory. In that moment of intense focus, you can create a temporary energetic cord or connection. While this is necessary for the work, leaving that cord in place can be draining. It's like leaving an open data line between you and the energy source, and that can make you feel drained, scattered, or overly influenced by that energy. The goal of a cord cutting is not to be disrespectful to the divine or the guides you VA worked with. It's a necessary act of energetic hygiene. It's about saying, the connection for this specific purpose is complete, and I am now returning to my own sovereign energy. A simple and effective way to perform a cord cutting is with a simple visualization. After you've finished your ritual and done your initial grounding, you can sit quietly and imagine any energetic cords that are still attached to you. You might see them as ribbons of light, ropes, or even thin threads extending from your body to the energy you were working with. You can then visualize a pair of scissors, a sword, or a powerful beam of light cutting those cords. As you do this, you can say a simple affirmation like, I release all energetic cords and attachments that no longer serve my highest good. I am sovereign, and my energy is my own. This is a deeply empowering act because it reminds you that you have the power to create and dissolve energetic connections. I remember a client who was doing a lot of work with a specific goddess archetype to help her find her voice. The work was incredibly effective, but after the ritual, she felt a profound sense of pressure to be perfect and to always speak with authority. The energy of the goddess was still with her, but it was unintegrated and overwhelming. We did a simple cord cutting exercise and she felt an immediate release. It wasn't about rejecting the goddess's wisdom. It was about releasing the energetic tie so she could integrate the lessons on her own terms. She took the wisdom and made it her own instead of feeling like she had to carry the entire energy of the archetype with her. So, the key here is to realize that energetic independence is a part of spiritual maturity. You are not meant to be perpetually tied to every energy you work with. You are meant to take the wisdom and lessons and integrate them into your own being. What energetic cords might you need to release to fully reclaim your own sovereignty after a ritual? We've explored several specific techniques for grounding and closing, from physical anchors to cord cutting. Now, let's talk about shifting your mindset. Grounding shouldn't be a chore you do after a ritual. It should be a fundamental part of your daily life. This is about making your spiritual practice truly integrated. This is what I call the grounding practice as a daily habit. Think of it like dental hygiene. You don't just brush your teeth after a big sugary meal. You brush them every single day. Why? Because you know that consistent preventative care is the key to long-term health. Grounding is the same. When you make it a daily habit, you're not just reacting to being ungrounded. You're proactively building your spiritual resilience. You refortifying your energetic boundaries so that you're less likely to be affected by the chaotic energies of the world. So, how do you make grounding a daily habit? It can be as simple as a few moments of conscious action. You might start your day by placing your bare feet on the floor and taking 3 deep, intentional breaths, visualizing yourself rooting down into the earth, or you might take a few moments before you leave your house to set an intention to stay grounded and centered throughout the day. It doesn't have to be a big formal ritual. It's about infusing your daily life with small, intentional acts of awareness. A perfect example is a friend of mine who has a very high-stress job in a busy office. She used to come home feeling completely drained and unspattered. I suggested she make a habit of taking a 2-minute grounding break every few hours. She would go to the break room, close her eyes, and simply focus on the feeling of her feet on the ground. She would do a quick body scan, noticing any tension she was holding, and then she would take a few deep breaths, imagining all the stress and chaos flowing out of her body and into the earth. She was shocked at how much of a difference this simple, consistent practice made. She was no longer just reacting to the stress. She was actively managing her energy throughout the day. She was building her spiritual strength, one breath at a time. The key here is consistency. A few moments of grounding every day is far more powerful than a single hour-long grounding session after a big ritual. You are building a spiritual muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. You're creating a kind of energetic anchor within yourself, so that no matter how wild the world gets, you always have a way to find your center. So, I want you to consider this. What is one small, simple grounding practice you can commit to doing every single day to proactively fortify your energy? In our last section, we discussed the importance of grounding as a daily habit. Now, let us talk about a very real and unpleasant consequence of neglecting this habit: the spiritual hangover and how to prevent it. Just as a physical hangover is the result of putting too much alcohol into your body without giving it a chance to process and metabolize, a spiritual hangover is the result of taking on too much spiritual energy without properly integrating and releasing it. Think of the spiritual hangover as a deep-seated feeling of exhaustion, emotional turmoil, and mental fogginess that comes after an intense spiritual session. You might feel emotionally drained, like you've been through the ringer. You might have a low-grade headache or feel a strange kind of physical fatigue that doesn't make sense. Your mind can be scattered and unable to focus, and you might feel a lingering sense of anxiety or even sadness for no reason. This isn't a sign of spiritual failure, it's a sign that your system is overloaded. It's the energetic equivalent of a system crash. A perfect example is a friend who went on a weekend retreat that was incredibly powerful and transformative. She spent 2 full days in deep meditation, breathwork, and emotional release sessions. She came home feeling euphoric, but by Monday morning, she couldn't get out of bed. She was physically exhausted, emotionally sensitive to the point of tears, and felt a profound sense of burnout. She was experiencing a full-blown spiritual hangover. She had taken on so much high vibrational energy that her physical body couldn't handle it. The insights she gained were beautiful, but they were unintegrated, and her system was trying to process all of it at once. So, how do you prevent this? The key is a proactive approach. It's about consciously managing your energy. First, listen to your body. If you feel tired during a ritual, take a break. Don't push yourself to go further than you're comfortable with. Second, make grounding a part of every single session. Don't just save it for the end of a big ceremony. If you're doing a 30-minute meditation, take a few minutes afterward to ground. If you're doing a quick tarot pull, take a moment to say a closing statement. Third, hydrate. Just as water helps you flush out physical toxins, it also helps you move energetic toxins. And finally, eat. We've talked about this before, but it's worth repeating. Eating a hearty, substantial meal after a ritual is a fundamental way of re-anchoring yourself in the physical world. The spiritual hangover is an invitation to listen more closely to your body and your energetic needs. It's a sign that you need to slow down and create space for integration. It's a powerful lesson in the wisdom of balance. So, I want you to consider this. What is your own personal spiritual hangover? And what preventative measures can you take to avoid it? We've explored many different tools for grounding and closing, from physical actions to energetic cord cutting. Now, let's bring all of these pieces together. The goal isn't just to have a bunch of random techniques, it's to create a coherent and personal practice. This is about the importance of a structured closing sequence. Just as a good recipe has a set of steps you follow to get a delicious result, a good ritual needs a structured closing sequence to ensure that you are fully grounded and integrated. Think of your closing sequence as a kind of spiritual checklist. It's a series of actions you perform every single time you finish a ritual or a deep spiritual practice. This isn't about being rigid, it's about being intentional. When you have a sequence, you're less likely to forget a crucial step, like grounding or sealing the energy. This structure gives your subconscious mind a sense of completion and signals that it's time to come back to your everyday consciousness. So, what does a good closing sequence look like? It can be broken down into a few key steps. First, the release. This is where you formally thank and release the energies, guides, or deities you've worked with. You can use a simple verbal statement, like we discussed earlier, to say thank you and goodbye. Second, the grounding. This is where you physically and energetically re-anchor yourself. You can put your hands on the ground, do a few squats, or simply focus on the feeling of your feet on the floor. Third, the sealing. This is where you close your energetic field. You can do this by visualizing your aura as a strong, protective bubble, or by smudging yourself with sage or Palo Santo. Fourth, the integration. This is a small, symbolic act that helps you integrate the insights you've received. You might journal about your experience, have a glass of water, or simply take a moment to reflect on what you learned. A beautiful example of this is a friend of mine who has a very busy and demanding life. She's also a deeply committed spiritual practitioner. She created a simple 5-step closing sequence that takes her less than 5 minutes. First, she says a quiet thank you. Second, she touches the floor with her hands. Third, she visualizes a bubble of golden light forming around her. Fourth, she writes down one key insight she received. And fifth, she sips a warm cup of herbal tea. This structured sequence allows her to go from a state of deep spiritual immersion to a state of calm and centered presence in her everyday life. It's a beautifully efficient and effective way to honor her practice and her body. The key here is to create a sequence that resonates with you and to commit to using it every single time. It's an act of respect for the power of the work you're doing. What simple multi-step sequence can you create for yourself to ensure you're always grounded and integrated? In the last section, we discussed the importance of a structured closing sequence. Now, let's add another crucial layer to that process: sharing and sealing the energy. After a profound spiritual experience, you might feel a rush of energy and a strong desire to talk about it. This is a natural impulse, but how you go about it can make all the difference in whether that energy is integrated or dissipated. This is the difference between sharing and leaking. Think of the energy and insights you receive as a kind of sacred seed. When you share it with a trusted friend or mentor, you are planting that seed in fertile soil. You're giving it a chance to take root and grow. You can talk about what you experienced, what you learned, and how it made you feel. This externalization of the experience helps you process it and make it real. It also allows you to receive feedback and perspective that can help you understand the experience more deeply. But it's crucial that you are sharing with someone who can hold that sacred space for you, not someone who will dismiss or judge what you've experienced. However, if you immediately go out and talk to everyone about your experience, you're not sharing. You're leaking. You're throwing that seed onto concrete and it will never take root. You're giving away the energy before it's had a chance to seal within you. This is why you might feel a sudden drop in energy after talking about a spiritual experience. It's not that the other person took your energy, it's that you gave it away without first containing it. So, how do you manage this? The key is to first seal the insights within yourself. You can do this by journaling, as we discussed earlier, or by simply sitting in quiet contemplation. You are, in essence, digesting the spiritual food you've just consumed. You re-giving your system a chance to absorb all the nutrients before you offer any of it to the world. Once you feel that the insight is a part of you, then you can consciously choose to share it. A powerful example of this is a person who came to me after a particularly powerful vision quest. She was so excited about what she had learned that she immediately started telling everyone she knew. But as she talked about it, the profound, moving feeling she had felt during the vision quest started to fade. It became just a story, and she was left feeling empty and disappointed. We worked on a new approach. She learned to spend a full day in silent reflection after her next spiritual journey, writing down her insights in a sacred journal she kept just for that purpose. Only after she felt that the lessons were sealed within her did she share them. And when she did, they came from a place of deep wisdom and inner knowing, not from a place of uncontained excitement. So, I want you to consider this. What insights have you received that you've been leaking instead of sharing? And what can you do to first seal the energy of your spiritual work within yourself before you offer it to the world? We've been talking about the importance of sealing the energy and the difference between sharing and leaking. Now, let us talk about one of the simplest yet most powerful forces you can use for closure: the act of gratitude as a grounding force. Gratitude is not just a polite social custom, it's a high vibrational energy that can instantly shift your state of being. When you express gratitude for a spiritual experience, you are not only honoring the energies that assisted you, you are also bringing yourself back into a state of balance and presence. Think of it this way: when you're in a ritual, you're often in a state of receiving. You're open to insights, messages, and healing. This is a beautiful state of being. But if you don't complete the cycle by expressing gratitude, you can be left in a state of perpetual receptivity, which is energetically draining. Gratitude is the act of giving back. You are sending a wave of appreciation back out into the universe, which creates a kind of energetic closure. It's the final bow, the final amen that signals the end of the ceremony. A simple and beautiful way to do this is to end every ritual with a simple statement of gratitude. You can say something like, "Thank you for the insights and the healing. I am filled with gratitude for this experience." You can also write down a list of things you are grateful for, not just from the ritual, but from your life in general. This simple act of focusing on the positive and acknowledging the good can instantly shift your energy from a state of being up in the air to a state of being firmly rooted in the present moment. A powerful example of this is a man who was struggling with a lot of spiritual anxiety. He was worried that if he wasn't doing spiritual work, he was falling behind. He was constantly seeking and rarely feeling satisfied. We worked on a new practice. After every spiritual session, no matter how small, he would write down a list of 3 things he was grateful for. He would express gratitude for the insights he received, but he would also express gratitude for the simple things, like the feeling of the sun on his skin or the taste of his morning coffee. This simple act of intentional gratitude helped him ground himself in the beauty of his everyday life. It taught him that the spiritual is not just in the big rituals, it's in every moment. The key here is to see gratitude not just as a feeling, but as an action. It's a way of intentionally shifting your focus from what you read lacking to what you've been given. It's a powerful way of anchoring yourself in the present and completing the energetic cycle. What simple act of gratitude can you add to your closing sequence to help you feel more grounded and centered? In the last section, we discussed the power of gratitude as a grounding force. Now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. When you make conscious closure and grounding a consistent part of your spiritual practice, you are not just preventing spiritual hangovers, you are building something much more profound. You are building the long-term benefits of conscious closure. This is about creating a kind of spiritual resilience that will serve you for a lifetime. Think of it this way: every time you consciously close a ritual and ground yourself, you are sending a powerful signal to your subconscious. You are saying, "It is safe to open up. It is safe to receive. It is safe to be expansive because I know how to come back home." This builds a deep sense of trust within yourself. You no longer have to fear that powerful experiences will leave you scattered or unmoored, because you have a reliable way to return to your center. This trust allows you to go deeper into your spiritual work than you ever have before. A perfect example is a client of mine who was a brilliant psychic. She was incredibly gifted at receiving messages and visions, but she was constantly battling anxiety and spiritual burnout. She was always on, always receiving, and she had no way to turn it off. She would say to me, "I feel like I'm a spiritual antenna without an off switch." We worked on a daily, long-term practice of conscious closure. We created a set of rituals for her to use every single day to seal her energy, even when she wasn't doing a formal reading. She began to treat her spiritual gift with the same care and respect she would her physical body. Over time, her anxiety vanished. She realized that she wasn't losing her gift. She was learning how to manage it. She could still tune in and receive messages, but she could also tune out and live a normal, peaceful life. She was building spiritual stamina. The long-term benefits of this practice are immeasurable. It prevents spiritual burnout, which is a very real and common problem on the spiritual path. It also helps you to integrate your insights in a way that is truly transformative. Instead of having a bunch of beautiful experiences that don't change your life, you are taking those experiences and making them a part of who you are. The wisdom you gain becomes embodied, not just intellectual. It helps you move from being a spiritual seeker to being a spiritual practitioner. You are not just walking the path, you are building the path as you go. So, the key here is to realize that your grounding practice is an act of deep self-love. It's a way of saying, "I am worthy of being whole and centered." It's a way of honoring your journey and your body as a sacred vessel. What long-term benefits do you hope to gain by making conscious closure a consistent part of your practice? In our last section, we talked about the long-term benefits of conscious closure, building spiritual resilience over time. Now we arrive at the final destination, which is not a place at all, but a state of being. This is about tuning into your inner compass and the journey home. Every single spiritual ritual, every deep meditation, every act of conscious grounding is not just a destination in itself. It's a way of helping you find your way back to your own center, to the place where your inner wisdom resides. Think of it like this. The spiritual path is a grand adventure. You're exploring new lands, meeting new beings, and discovering profound truths about yourself and the universe. But the goal of the journey isn't to stay out there forever. The goal is to bring the treasures you find back home. Your inner compass is that deep, intuitive knowing that always points you back to your own sovereign energy. When you are ungrounded, your inner compass is spinning wildly. You can't hear your own guidance because of all the noise and clutter. But when you ground yourself, you are silencing the external world and the internal chaos. You're creating the space to hear your own truth. A beautiful example of this is a listener who wrote in and told me about her experience. For years, she had been hopping from one spiritual practice to another, always searching for the next big insight. She was constantly looking for a teacher, a guide, or a ritual to give her the answers, but she was always left feeling empty and unfulfilled. I told her that she was searching for her answers in the wrong place. Her answers weren't out there, they were within her. We worked on a daily 5-minute practice of grounding. She would simply sit with her hands on her lap, close her eyes, and ask her inner wisdom, "What do I need to know today?" And she would wait, without judgment, for the answer to come. At first she heard nothing, but over time, as her system became more and more grounded, she began to hear a quiet voice, her own voice, giving her the perfect guidance she needed. This is the ultimate purpose of conscious closure. It's not just about energetic hygiene, it's about sovereignty. It's about empowering yourself to be your own guide, your own teacher, and your own guru. It's about building a sacred relationship with yourself. When you can find your way back to your center, you will never feel lost. No matter how wild the world gets, you will always have a place to land. You will always have a source of profound wisdom that is always available to you. So the journey home is not a single act. It's a daily practice of returning to the sacred space within. So, I want you to consider this. What is your own inner compass telling you right now? And what can you do to honor that voice and find your way back home? That's all for today. We've covered a lot of ground, from the unsettling feeling of being unmoored to the profound long-term benefits of conscious closure. Remember, your spiritual practice isn't just about reaching for the stars. It's about bringing the magic of the cosmos down into your everyday life. So, for the rest of the week, I encourage you to meditate on this one thought. Your spiritual journey is a continuous cycle of opening and closing, of breathing in and breathing out. Honor both parts of that cycle, and you will find a profound sense of peace and balance. Keep trusting your intuition, and I'll see you in the next one.